Through the tutorials, you will familiarize yourself with the basic aspects of running your video. You can also hold your left mouse button on the tutorial window and drag the tutorial box anywhere on the screen. Go ahead and give it a try, and then left-click on the Next button to proceed. Since this is your first taste of becoming a restaurateur, we will start easy and work our way up the ladder of experience. This will smooth out your learning curve. You will have your chance later on to grow your... You are currently in the city view. You can zip around the city by moving the mouse to the screen edges or by using the arrow keys on your keyboard. Go on, take a look around Gay Paris. Left-click on the Next button to continue. You can also look at the city from different angles and perspectives. To zoom in or out, while we're at it, let's look at some items on the top menu bar. There are two numeric displays to the next is the... Now let's go into your restaurant. The area indicated by the arrows is the restaurant indicator. Once you start owning more and more restaurants, this is the interior view of your restaurant. If you ever want to leave the restaurant, left-click on the Leave Restaurant button. This will take you out of the restaurant and back to the city view. Go ahead and try it. You can also double-click on any restaurant that you own to enter. If you are ever doubtful about a button's function, simply mouse over the button or an interface element. A brief pop-up describing the button or interface function will appear. Extended help will be displayed if you mouse over the button a bit longer. Left-click on the Next button to continue. Your customers like to look at interesting objects while eating. Decoration adds ambiance to the dining experience, so let's make your restaurant more attractive. These are the main categories of items that you may place in your restaurants. There are wall-mounted, floor-mounted, and tabletop-mounted subcategories. For now, let's focus on wall-mounted items. The button is already highlighted in yellow. Left-click on the Next button when you are ready for the next step. All decoration items have at least one attribute, and at most two. Some increase a Now drag the object in hand onto the restaurant floor. Do you see a colored box below the item? That's the item's bounding box, the physical space the item you're holding occupies. You cannot place the item when the box is red. Line the item up against a wall. Don't worry if the item is not properly aligned. While you're at it, place a few more items on the walls. When you feel you've got good going. Now that there are a few more items, placing items on a restaurant floor is similar to mounting items on walls. Pick a few items that catch your fancy, then place them on the restaurant floor. When you are satisfied with the amount of decoration you have in your restaurant, left-click on the Next button to continue. You are obviously a quick learner. Remember, whenever you need help, you can seek me out. Well done, Armand. Now that you know how to decorate your restaurant, let's see what you'll serve your customers. Below the menu is the food menu interface. You will notice that the food menu interface has been swapped with the recipes interface, the repository of all your available recipes. As you are just starting out, you only have a handful of recipes available. The 5 square buttons on the top of the recipe interface represent food course categories. Left-click on the Next button to continue. Below the food course buttons is a recipe pane of the recipe currently viewed, as well as its name. The recipe pane also has 2 round arrow buttons that can be used to go forward and back through your list of recipes. In this case, the main courses. Go ahead, try it now. Left-click on the arrow buttons to cycle through your available recipes. When you're done, left-click on the Next button. Notice the flag icons at the end of each recipe. The flag icons indicate a recipe's suitability for a certain cuisine. French. Now, instead of flipping through the list one by one using the arrow buttons, let's bring up the drop-down list. Simply left-click anywhere in the recipe name display. Give it a try. You will be able to view several recipes at the same time. You can also use the scroll bar to go up and down your list. Why don't you choose a recipe now? Simply left-click on a recipe. To see your new recipe on the menu, left-click on the View Food Menu button. Now you're back in the Food Menu interface. The difference being we have added a recipe. Now at least customers can order something. This is a rather Spartan selection that you offer. Let's try to add some variety to the menu by repeating the procedure to add more recipes. When you are done establishing your menu, left-click on the Next button to continue. Make sure you are viewing the food menu interface for this next step. Notice on the food menu how arrow buttons appear on the bottom corners of the menu pages. So far, so good. Now that you understand the basics of adding recipes to your menu, let's look at what other things you can do to make your customers' stay all the more enjoyable. Now that customers can savor your recipes, they will want something with which to wash down their meals. Let's add beverage services to your restaurant by left-clicking on the Add Beverage button. A pop-up with a list of hot and cold beverages will appear. In case you haven't noticed, I'd like to give you a word on let's tart up the menu design. There are 3 things you can do to alter your menu's appearance. You can change the title font, the text font, and the background design of your menu. Let's start by changing the title font. Left-click on the Title Font button. 2 arrow buttons will appear to the sides. You can also left-click on the text font and the background buttons to change your restaurant menu's appearance. Design your menu until you have customized its appearance to your liking and to your restaurant's suiting. When you are done, left-click on the Next button to continue. There's only a bit more to go. If you ever want to view specifics regarding any recipe in your menu, simply double-click on the recipe name and you will be brought back to the recipe menu interface where you can view detailed information regarding that recipe. Go ahead, give it a try. Check any recipe's details by double-clicking on a recipe entry in your menu. Notice the default price on the recipe menu, which is your restaurant's selling price for that recipe. When you are ready, left-click on the Next button to continue. The last thing I want to go over with you is on the food menu interface. So bring up the food menu interface. If you ever want to get rid of a recipe from the menu, say due to poor sales, then highlight the recipe and excellent! You are becoming quite You have added decoration and placed recipe. Apart from your name, the staff list is almost. Notice how the interface now displays quite a bit of information. Any restaurant needs at least a chef to prepare the recipes, a captain for taking orders, a server to, well, serve the food, and a receptionist to show the customers to their seats. Oh, and I almost forgot. You need to hire a kitchen porter to wash the dishes. Go ahead and hire all these posts. No need to hire a chef when you've got your trusting self to work the kitchen. Once you are done hiring, left-click on the Next button to continue. A word on receptionists. They can only carry out their duties effectively if they have a reception desk handy. You can find a reception desk in the interior panel. You remember how to place items to equip and decorate your restaurant, right? Now place a reception desk near the entrance of your restaurant. We will continue with training afterwards. This is also the ideal time to explain to you how to rotate, move, and delete items. Notice the two round buttons near the end of the interior interface? They are the Adjust Items and Delete Items buttons. To delete an item, left-click on the Delete Item button. Then, good! Now let's go back to the staff panel. Let's start with the List Mode button. Notice the two small icons to the right of each employee position, complete with. Now you're back in the detailed view. Most of the buttons are now available. You should already be familiar with the first two buttons. The other buttons are Raise or Lower Salary, Transfer Staff, and Fire Staff. These buttons are relatively easy to understand. I'll let you play with these at your leisure. When you are done familiarizing your good going, you are just about ready to start taking. Now, just be patient and customers are bound to come in. If you are impatient, you can always accelerate the game's speed by left-clicking on one of the four speed bars. The round button to the left of the speed buttons is the Pause Resume Game toggle. Left-click the button to first pause, then left-click again to resume the game. There's something you should know about the speed settings and how time passes in the restaurant universe. Now I'd like to explain to you about the Information Center. Now take a look at the top row of buttons. There are, from left to right, the restaurant ratings, sales report, statistics, income statements, financial graphs, and complaints buttons. Click on each one and familiarize yourself with the different types of information displayed. Left-click on the Next button. Now go back to the restaurant. Pay special attention. When you're ready to move on, left-click on the Goal button to continue. As you can see, the top row of buttons now. Wow! All this restaurant managing has got me really hungry, Armand.
var en hel del. Det här vill bli det.